You're listening to the Leadershift podcast series, and I'm your host, Tanvi Gautam. Welcome. This is turning out to be a hugely international community with people joining in from North America, South Africa, Middle East, Europe, Asia, Australia, as well as New Zealand. And I want to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about the inspiration behind the series, what you can expect going forward, and also a little bit about myself. So, whenever I hear the word leadership, I think of a ship, one with command and control hierarchies, where someone gives the order and the rest of the people execute it. Of course, this is a model of leadership that doesn't serve us anymore. We need to embrace a series of shifts, which is why Leadershift is about unlocking a new set of ideas about how to lead ourselves, our careers, and our organizations. So I've been talking about the move from leadership to Leadershift for a few years now, and every time I talk to an audience, I can see their eyes light up. It's like they intuitively get the importance of making the shift from command and control to networks, from profit-maximizing workplaces to purpose-driven workplaces, from a single career for a lifetime to sometimes 4 careers in a lifetime. And they're all ready and eager to know how we can collectively make that shift. And that's why they join the conversation. But do you know why you are here today?
Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there. Like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about? Your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
If you haven't guessed it already, that was a dialogue from one of my favorite movies, The Matrix, where Neo meets Morpheus for the first time. And if you're still here, that means you took the right pill and you have chosen to stick around, which makes me very happy. So, coming back to the series, you have heard that we are living in a VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And VUCA is an old military term that is being used in the business world to talk about the times that we live in and the changes that we are experiencing almost on a daily basis. So even if you were not familiar with the term, chances are your business realities are very much aligned to what VUCA is all about. Now, if you get around in conference circuits the way I do, you know that the 3 words that you have to use no matter what you're talking about are big data and social media, as well as VUCA. And if you want to impress your audience any further, you need to talk about design thinking. And then it's not important what else you might have said, as long as you generously sprinkle these words through your presentation. And frankly, this podcast series is born out of this overloading of jargon that seems to be happening, where we are throwing terms around without really thinking about how it translates into the reality of our organizations, our careers, as well as self-leadership. And so through this series, we will be exploring the phenomena of leading in a VUCA world from a different angle. So in the next few weeks, we shall be listening to some very interesting ideas, some radical ideas, some different ideas, the ones that are devoid of jargon but still will get us thinking, might turn the way we look at the world upside down. And that's all right, because it's only when we change the way we look at things that things we look at change. as they famously say. So how about this clip from the conversation with Alexa Clay, who's the co-author of The Misfit Economy, and she talks about people in the underground economy and Somalian pirates and other people who will never really be featured in Harvard Business Review, but perhaps might hold some insights into innovation.
Organization that is set up to basically transform the hustle of ex-cons and recognizing that people that are in prison have amazing entrepreneurial skills. You know, someone that ran a heroin business, for example, knows how to do customer recruitment and retention, knows how to manage quality products, but they were just misdirected or misapplied in the black market economy. And so how do you take those skills? How do you get these folks to rewrite their CVs and move into the formal economy?
I'm sure that has your curiosity piqued, and whether you agree or disagree with that viewpoint, you have to agree it's not something you hear in conference circuits every day. So for me, it has been a fascinating conversation so far. I've had a chance to be in dialogue with so many of the thinkers and thought leaders on the topic of Leadershift that it has changed the lens on the way I view the world very often. So in a conversation with Daniel Pink, who, if you don't know, is a demigod of sorts on the topic of motivation and thinking differently. And I believe really he is one of the most brilliant thinkers of our times. Here is what happened while we were talking.
And so I wouldn't call it, and I do the same thing. I wouldn't call what we do being judgmental as much as kind of making a cognitive mistake.
I'll take that explanation. It makes me feel better about myself.
Yeah. You're less of an evil person.
Right. And so, it's then I think the next step to this is that as leaders in organizations, we want to make the context as enabling as possible. So if you have to take a walk in the torrential rain, well, can I give you the boots? Can I give you the rain?
Exactly.
What can I do for you? So you have talked about the concept of meaning, and the quote in the book is, meaning is the new money. And I was hoping you could talk about that a little bit.
Yep, I would love to believe I'm less of an evil person now that Daniel Pink reframed how I was thinking on that conversation that you will have to wait to hear till we get to that part of the series. So the other thing you need to know about this series is that it's completely unscripted. So I haven't gone in pre-deciding a lot of things, and so it's been a bit of an emergent conversation. And I've talked to these guests just the way I'm talking to you right now, which is without a script. So it'll be a little bit like eavesdropping in on conversations that I have had with these guests. And sometimes they've led to some very interesting and surprising conversations, like this one with Franz Johansson, who is the author of The Medici Effect and The Click Moments, both books which I enjoyed reading immensely and are very highly recommended by Clay Christensen, who is, of course, the final word in innovation itself at Harvard Business School. So here's a small clip from what happened there.
Same thing. Even things that we believe had to have been ingrained in the creator's mind turns out that way, right? When George Lucas wrote Star Wars, originally Obi-Wan Kenobi doesn't die, right? He makes his decision halfway through the filming that he should die, and that's when he comes up with this notion. He comes back as a ghost and says, "May the Force be with you," into Luke's mind. This is such an ingrained part of Star Wars universe that we think it had to have been designed from the very beginning. No, this is surprising insight, and he runs with it. This is how we should be thinking about our opportunities and incorporating them into strategy. We pick a direction, we move, but we encourage surprise. We encourage serendipitous insight. And when it happens, we pay attention to it. And if we like it, we go for it. That becomes actually the direction that's going to make us stand apart.
Right. So let me ask you a surprising question, which I hadn't planned for the podcast, but I must ask it now, which is, have your professors at the Harvard Business School read your book? And what do they have to say about the book? Because, I'm a part of the management education field myself, and we are preparing managers with these, formulas in some senses, or on a pattern of predictability which doesn't exist. And that was part of the reason for genesis of this podcast to begin with. But what explains your background with the kind of school that you went to, which, brilliant as it might be, is still very traditional in the traditional sense of the word, and you come out of it and you are talking serendipity and randomness and click moments. What was going on there?
It's a great question. Well, first of all, I do know.
So yeah, those are the kind of moments you can expect, quite emergent. The final clip that I wanted to share with you before I sign off is from the conversation I had with Seth Godin. And in case you haven't heard of Seth Godin is to marketing what Steve Jobs was to IT and Apple. So that's actually saying a lot, but that's the fastest metaphor I can think of conveying who Seth Godin is. And again, somebody whose work I admire a lot. And the reason this is the final clip of today's podcast is because it is a little bit reflective of my state of mind right now. What might that be? You'll need to listen to the clip to find out.
Connection economy, then we deal with a new sort of abundance, an unlimited amount of choice, an unlimited number of people to follow, an unlimited number of people to connect with. But then the scarce challenge of, can you be trusted? Can you earn the privilege of being heard?
That's true. I think trust is at the core of the connection. And, while I read your books and I hear your interviews, you talk about the fact that, things in the connection economy, of course, are also changing very rapidly. There's a lot of change and there is a lot of unknown. And a part of leading in this era is to step into that unknown, not knowing whether one is going to succeed or not. And doing that evokes fear, and it triggers our primitive brain, which wants us to keep safe because we don't want to be judged. We don't want people to tell us, whether our work is not up to the standards that we thought it was, was at. And you turn around and say that you can't play too safe. If it can't fail, it doesn't count. And when people are embraced with the choice of not knowing whether they will succeed or not, often they choose not even to try. And your thought there is that the only thing worse than failing is not starting. So when I think of the tension that lies therein, where you have to create, you have to step up, and you're scared of your wits, how do we feel the fear and do it anyway?
So I'm sure many of you might want to know the answer to that one. I want to wrap up this series by saying it's an absolute honor to have you as part of this community. Many of you are senior leaders of your organizations, leadership coaches, authors, thinkers, and practitioners. And I look forward to learning from you and with you. I don't claim to have all the answers. I do claim to have a conversation space. I plan to provide the spark, but you will have to fan the flames. And what will happen is that you will start receiving these conversations, these recordings on email, and you will have a chance to comment and share your thoughts about the conversation, so we can learn together and move the conversation towards Leadershift. So thanks once again for joining the tribe. Send me an email or leave us a comment below. Remember to keep up with www.leadershiftinc.com. I'm also on Twitter and LinkedIn, and I would love to connect with you there. So hope to see you around. And until next time, this is Tanvi Gautam signing off. Stay inspired.